Everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party, and my buddy Rhett is out in the living room. I got a bunch of sleeping dogs around me. And it is February 19th, 79 degrees. I think it's supposed to climb up. Earlier, it was saying it was going to climb up to 88 degrees and feel like 92. I believe it's now saying that it's going to climb up to 85 degrees. I don't know what it's supposed to feel like, but it's going to feel pretty hot. I'm supposed to play um, Ultimate Frisbee in about 3 hours. So I got to make sure I'm all hydrated for that. And I have some new supplements. So I had another supplement that, like a mix that I have been taking, and it really does make a big difference when I go play. I can just run a lot longer and all that, feel a lot better, heal a lot faster afterwards. And then I added a new supplement that I got for my birthday from my son, and that it was just a game changer, absolute game changer. I was just like literally played the whole time. Normally, I'll only play like 3 games. Played the entire time and was absolutely ready to play more. Just not, and not only that, but I didn't get like any like. Sometimes some supplements that give me a lot of energy and give me a good push also make me extremely competitive, and and I wasn't. But anyway, so I've been working through these unit tests. I almost I think I've said it in a while. Like I literally have only been working on unit tests for the last 20 days. Um, I've got very mixed feelings about that. One is I do kind of wish I was just doing some 3JS. I would like to do some more 3JS stuff because I think it's fun. Um, but as a developer, a front end developer, like it's forced certain amounts of discipline and clarity into my brain, and it has made work my it has made things a lot clearer at work. Um, so I wish I had gone through sort of this unit test, sort of what would you call it, like when they make like platinum things, like I wish I'd gone through this process earlier, maybe 10 years ago, of doing exactly what I'm doing right now, because I do think it is really making me a much, much better, or at least I don't know if it's making me a better developer. It's making the development, my understanding of development, go a lot better. But I did start a new project yesterday, and um, the thought of doing unit tests in that project never crossed my mind. So I cannot see this being good for a project. I do see it being very, very good for the developers, though. Um, so I think that it isn't everyone's best interest to have a project. Another, like, if you're an organization and you want to take responsibility for making your developers better, and you're not going to tell them, hey, you figure out how to be better on your own time. We're going to figure that out for you. I have no idea why you'd want to do that, but like, let's say that's what you're going to do. Then having a project which is very complex, but um, and to move forward on, that is going to bring some sort of value to the organization for the developers to work on while they're, you know, having, if they have extra cycles that you can't really use them for, um, that does unit tests would probably really help. Um, and it would probably, I could see it being kind of a super, sort of a super same pager. It lets you run into a lot of problems that would normally take a while. So, anyways, I have told this thing to focus exclusively on the camera suite. So I put an F in here and I said, describe this camera suite of tests, which it only has one test. And I was hoping that this would be green. I didn't really care what happened to all the rest of them, but and the reason is because I'm pretty sure that the camera right now is being tested as side effects of other things, and I have a feeling the vast majority of those side effects is the in the app. It generates a bunch of visualizations, and I don't want that is not going to be the way it is in the near future. eventually what's going to happen is you're going to end up with a blank page, and you're going to have to add your own things or import them. So anyways, we are going to move into our it's our camera service, and we are going to click in here, and basically it looks like our create camera never gets called, and basically all it needs is a number. But it also does need the recyclable sequence service, and it is not a pure function, so it does need access to the this of the service. So, and it needs to have the recyclable sequence service existing. So, and I don't know if it, I feel like maybe that is one of the benefits to this new inject, is because it used to be you had to do a bunch of stuff in modules inside of this configuration testing module to get this available, but I think you may not need that anymore, because of, I think it gets injected and all that here. So that's nice. But let's see if we can get this create base camera to run. So so this is how I do it. I do not, please don't take what I'm doing as a best practice, because I really don't know the best practices in unit tests, but I always create my it. I don't know what it is. What is it? It is a spec. Single defines a single. So this says what it does, but not what it is. It does define a single spec. A spec should contain. So okay, so I'm going to go to ChatGPT, and I'm going to ask it what it is. It should, this defines the test case. See, again, it doesn't, what is it in this context? I guess I should put this in quotes. Okay, it's a function provided by June. So it takes two arguments. One is the description of the test, and the other is the callback. So basically, so the describe is often called the assertion. Is the it ever called anything? I swear, being able to speak in meetings or with your peers using the proper vocabulary is so incredibly helpful. Oh yeah, the spec. Thank you. But it defines it. So it's like, not called anything a test case. It's called a spec. To someone. Say the specification function. As the spec. So the spec. So I guess you just call it the spec. So I create a spec, and then it accepts a spec function, and it accepts a description. So our description in this case is creates a base camera. Oops, I'm no longer in here. Creates a base camera. So the expect is the assertion, not the describe. I have no idea how I got that in my head. Creates a base camera. So that's the description, and then the callback is that, and it doesn't need to be there's no asynchronous part of it, so it doesn't have to be an async. There's no timing issues here. So then we'll say const camera equals create base, it's called service dot create base camera, and I think we can just give it the number 1, and we'll see what happens. So I like to do it kind of like this, in that so that I run, so like I'm not actually doing my assertion yet. I'm doing my I'm just trying to get my coverage, and then I'll do an assertion. Damn boy. So that works. So, and then this is kind of like where I could get myself in trouble with an architect, because then I would be perfectly happy to say, okay, I got our 100%, or I got our 90, above 80% or whatever, and move on. But you know, they actually want to test. So what would we expect? And I was literally writing the tests for what's going to get by the peer review, and that was it. Like, that was the only thing I would, you know, because I knew they weren't going to dig deep into it. So, but we would expect, and see, we at this point we could also, the camera. What do we get back? Oh, so we're not camera. We're getting the ID back, and see, this is great, right? Like, right now I understand this better already. Okay, so I'm going to get a camera ID, which is a very similar pattern that I've been doing all the time, and then const camera. If I want the camera, and that's going to be a, what is that? That's going to return an ST camera. Which I don't think exists yet in our, like, we haven't imported that type. Get camera ID. And then we'll pass it the camera ID. And say it expect the camera to be I want it to be truthy. And let's see. Hopefully it passes. So yeah, so our test passed, and I believe we'll have 100%. 100, everybody. All right, that's exactly what we're hoping for. And now let's see what happens over here. So we got this 100. Everybody else is lower. So now if we remove this f describe, Let's see, it does this stuff, but it doesn't actually run the test. And well, no, it looks like it's running the test. Okay. This is interesting. Web3 context lost. And it's because I guess, I don't know, the other ones got destroyed. I'm not sure exactly what happened. So we're 100 there, and we've done up to camera. So now let's go to our geometry. And let's F describe that one. So that was a lot easier than what I was expecting. And I will say that, like, that is sort of like par for the course. You know, it's hard to tell when you've leveled up. And so a lot of times you've sort of achieved a new level of talent and you're not quite aware of it yet. And so you'll very, very much see why. Okay, so why this time? Why did it not cancel? Why did it not rerun this time? It just doesn't rerun sometimes, and I don't understand that. Let's see. So yeah, so our geometry is the same way. Come into our geometry service. So we don't even do the base geometry. So in all likelihood, when we create the base geometry, if we get the base geometry, we'll get 100%, and it'll take 2 minutes or just a few minutes to write it. Let's see. Yeah, see, all it does is create the service and make sure. So, but you know, it is okay. So, pro unit tests. Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten that the general pattern was like create one. I return the ID of it. If I would like an instance of it, then at that point I can use that ID to get the actual instance if I want to do some sort of operation or use it in some way. So that was good. That was a good reminder. You know, again, you know, I've been working on unit tests for 19 days now. You know, if I'm going to be completely fair, I'm going to have to say that, like, I've had a lot of really negative experiences with unit tests in general in the environment, in that, like, a lot of the people that push unit tests are sort of, I don't know, bossy or bullies in nature, and say like awful things and all that. So, you know, I kind of associate all that negative with unit tests, which is not fair at all. But on the other side, I have found that they're just fascinating little puzzles that just sort of end up taking your mind and all your energy off of the project and onto the unit tests. So I would definitely stay with that argument. I definitely want to see this all the way through. I don't, after this is over, the next thing is to run the end-to-end testing, which I do not think there'll be any changes to that at this point. And then I will move on. And then, you know, then after that, I'll sort of get rid of these and make a little drop down hamburger that's similar to this, that kind of sits in this corner. And then when you add it, it adds one of these, and you can just keep adding. Actually, the very next thing I want to do is the auto resize. So I want it to, you know, recalculate all the positions and redraw all the positions anytime you resize. And that's mostly because, like, if I go here, I don't want to have to hit reload for this to happen. I want it to just happen on its own. And it shouldn't be as slow as that, because it should just be moving pieces around instead of trying to redraw the pieces. But so that's the very next thing I want to do, which I don't think will trigger a whole lot of new unit tests, and I don't think that will trigger. I don't know. That might trigger. We might be able to resize in Cypress with Cypress.js. Can you resize? Can you test resizing? the browser window. Interesting. Okay, so we'll probably be able to do that, and then um, yeah, and then yeah, so that's going to be cool. That'll actually be cool. We could actually test that piece of functionality in the UI, and that might actually be that will probably be pretty fun, and that might actually look neat to just sort of move this into all kinds of different sizes. I'm actually really looking forward to that. But anyways, we got a bunch to go. We got so far to go. Let's see. So we got geometry service, then we've got material, mesh, renderer, scene. But maybe tomorrow we can like sort of double our velocity and do like the geometry and the material. And then maybe on Monday we can do mesh, renderer, scene. Although I imagine as soon as we leave ST world, then we'll end up going, it'll slow down again. Let's see, ST camera. Or it would have been interesting to look when we got the ST camera working, if that automatically got us the 3 camera, because I believe it'll create a 3 camera as part of its existence. Let's see if we look at a ST camera. Yeah, see, it creates an actual, yeah, I think, yeah, 3 camera. It actually creates a 3 camera. So that, as a side effect, did in fact take care of 3 camera. And it also apparently did take care of recycle sequence. Now, one thing to be very clear about, I probably should have spent a little bit more time. Injecting services is much, much more difficult in older versions of Angular. In the versions of Angular, which is, I would imagine, literally probably 95% of Angular applications, in most, they don't use this as their way of injecting it. They use the module as a way to inject it, or they use up in here, setting it up as like up there in this configuration. That's how you inject the module. I mean, that's how you inject services. But see, this does it programmatically, so then you don't have to really do any scaffolding or any kind of extra work outside of anything to make that happen. So I would definitely strongly so like if it's not working for you and you're not using these injects, that's why. And that's a whole, like, it's a lot more complicated, I think, and harder to understand that. But see, here I'm just using this. Now, one of the things that's nice about the old way where you used these things is you could actually it was easier to, I think it's probably easier to mock a service and all that than that in that way, so you could use a different service. But here it's sort of all in the code, so you're going to use the service that came with it. But anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.